Welcome to day 3 of Alien and UFO week, mate. Welcome, okay? If you're into aliens and UFOs and ghosts and paranormal and strange things, make sure you subscribe. And I also recommend, because this is a 7-day week upload of aliens and UFOs this week, I recommend going to check out day 1 and starting there. Because if you're on the fence about aliens and UFOs, I think that will sort of open your mind up a little bit more. And then we can just carry on throughout the week. So on to today's video. I didn't know this at all. And I'll be honest with you, like I said before, I'm unraveling this UFO and alien stuff as like in real time, yeah? I'm learning as we go. And I didn't know that the UK has their very own Roswell Incident, right? I didn't know this. In Suffolk, in 1980, the year that I was born, in a forest called the Rendlesham Forest. The Rendlesham Forest UFO Incident, okay? And today we're going to be looking at a video, and it's going to be interviewing these people with real recordings of these 2 American RAF officers, their radio calling. It's going to be crazy, okay? I've not seen it yet, so I'm going to be looking at it in real time with you. And another thing I didn't know as well is that the UK have admitted that there's UAPs, and I saw this on the gov.uk website. Check out this. Unidentified area phenomena in the UK air defence region. Look at this, look, you've got the triangle UFO there, look, an example UAP formation of the triangle type. Look at this. And what I thought was quite funny, this part here. What does all this stuff about flying saucers amount to? What can it mean? What is the truth? Let me have a report at your convenience, says Winston Churchill, 28th of July, 1952. So all the way back in 1952, right, the Prime Minister, Winston Churchill, it was like, right, let me know about this stuff, okay? And this is really quite interesting as well. The topic of unidentified area phenomena, UAP, has remained an enigma since well before the Prime Minister's remarks above. Since the earliest record history, probably only 2 key facts have changed. There are now more UAP reported, and there are also more objects in the sky which can be misreported. The findings and recommendations of the first stated DIS UAP analysis for over 25 years are contained in this executive summary. And this just goes on and on and on. If I remember, I'll leave this link in the description so you can check it out. But you can go to gov.com and it's really cool. All right, I haven't read it all yet, but like from what I've read, it's really quite interesting. I also want to say thanks for all of the epic comments about the compilation video that I did yesterday about all the UFOs, including the viral UFO one going around at the moment. It was epic. So thank you so much. I'm sorry I haven't replied to all of the comments yet. I've just been a very busy boy. Right. The Rendlesham Forest UFO Incident exclusive sci-fi documentary premiere. This is actually a channel called Watch Now, Sci-Fi and Fantasy. So make sure you go to that channel, subscribe, and do the thing, okay? Right, let's check this out.
Welcome to The Conspiracy Show. My name is Richard Serrett. Did a vessel of extraterrestrial origin touch down near a U.S. Air Force base in England over Christmas in 1980? Tonight, we'll meet several of those witnesses, including one who claims to have walked up to the landed craft and touched it. We'll also meet a UFO investigator who insists the evidence proves that a vessel of extraterrestrial origin touched down in Rendlesham Forest in 1980.
That was like the
We'll also meet a skeptic
TR-3B,
who insists there are numerous plausible explanations for this event, none of them which include a flying saucer piloted by an alien. Our mission is to investigate these claims and follow the truth wherever it may lead. It is time to redefine reality.
Genetic enigma or a human alien hybrid?
There was at least 2 gunmen. One was
Yeah, it looks like the TR-3B.
Technology can alter weather patterns
created by the corporation. The strain on
engineered by
shaped
the
UFO.
Illuminati.
There's no
It's
doubt.
very similar.
I'm here in Phoenix with Jim Peniston, U.S. Air Force retired Staff Sergeant, Royal Air Force Base in Bentwaters.
during the 1980 Rendlesham Incident. Jim, welcome to the Conspiracy Show. Thanks for your time.
Well, thanks for inviting me. I appreciate it.
I want you to give me a quick thumbnail sketch or a timeline of what you saw, the date, where you were, and what your observations were.
Yeah, I was working the midnight shift on the 25th of December, 1980. I was in charge of security for RAF Woodbridge, England. And around 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, I was called to go to the East Gate. I arrived there, and Sergeant Steffens briefed me that they had something going on in the woods. I looked out there. It appeared to be a dome of light. It looked like a fire. I said, "What, do you hear a crash?" And he says, "No, Jim, it didn't crash." So I said, "What, did it land?" And he goes, "Yeah, something like that." I went back to the gate shack. I called into my control centers. They're checking to see the radar, to see if there was a tracking or anything like that. In a couple minutes, they come back online and they say, we had a unidentified bogey about 15 minutes ago, lost contact over RF Woodbridge. We deployed quickly off base. There's only like 300 yards, and there was like a bright a white light, a triangular craft appeared in front of us. It measured approximately 9 feet long, triangular in shape, black glass looking, metal feel, but very, very smooth. When I came around to the far side, I see there was some type of pictorial glyphs on it. And I was actually hoping that it would say United States Air Force or NASA or something like that.
So, okay, this got even more interesting because I thought it was like the TR3. Is it the TR3B? I think it's called the TR3B. With these markings that he saw on the side, tells you it could be alien. Woo! Okay, and I want to go to this place. So apparently, like, they've got a replica of the UFO there, and you can actually do the trail of the UFO. I've got to go. I've got to go there. I'm going to.
It's a rainy, cold day here in Rendlesham Forest. We're just outside the old Woodbridge Air Force Base, and I'm here to meet Larry Warren, the original whistleblower of the Rendlesham Forest UFO incident. He's here to relive those strange events that happened over 30 years ago.
I've never heard of Rendlesham.
I saw what I saw. I never saw anything in the air except the light come in, and then an object, something happened, and there was a structured object on the ground.
Wow.
And we drove down here and turned left, stopped, and then moved on foot through much like this. And there was no snow on the ground. And I mean, the forest was this all the way through. This is what you're going through in pitch black night, flashlights, radios going.
Oh, mate.
And I still stand by, and I'm not alone in it. There was something alive in association with it. It was just there.
When you say it was there, you mean you felt a presence?
No, I saw it. I saw
it.
it. Definitely 3 things. So,
Inside the craft?
outside.
How tall were they? 5 foot, maybe? From day one? Make sure you go and check it out, if you know what I mean.
Lieutenant Bonnie Tamplin kind of lost it a bit and wouldn't come back out here.
Whoa.
I'm here with Peter Robbins, co-author of Left at East Gate, a first-hand account of the Rendlesham Forest UFO incident. Peter, thanks for joining me.
My pleasure, Richard.
This is wicked.
Larry's story is truly remarkable. Some might say out of this world, as is all the witnesses' stories are. Why did you believe him?
Good question. I have to be a skeptic because I know this is real beyond a reasonable doubt from the work I've done. Whatever happened to him in that field and happened to him after with more terrestrial sources controlled and ran his life.
So, what do you think they saw out there?
I think they saw technology and a presence from parts unknown.
Aliens,
These
mate, just
men's
say
lives were changed forever. I'm sure some of them, most of them, would have rather just done what the service wanted them to do, which is forget about it.
Right, well, thanks for that. Nice one. See you. Oh, okay. I think it's taken from television.
I'm here in southern Arizona at the Grasslands Observatory with James McGaha, retired U.S. Air Force pilot, astronomer, and skeptic. James, welcome to The Conspiracy Show.
Welcome. Glad to be here.
Unfortunately, I can't put this next part in, but basically what it is, it's only like a minute. James McGaha, he has a audio tape of the soldiers radioing in, saying about these lights in the distance over in the forest, okay? But what, because he's obviously a skeptic, he doesn't believe the accounts of what these people are saying. He says that the coordinates that they gave was 110 degrees east, and in that direction was a lighthouse, and these lights were flashing every 5 seconds, okay? And the lighthouse flashes every 5 seconds. But there's a little bit of back and forth about the detail there. For example, the colors of the lights aren't the same as the lighthouse, things like that. So I had to trim that out. But if you want to see the original, links in the description, okay? Right, let's get back into it.
What other possible explanation could there be aside from the Orford Ness Lighthouse?
Oh, well, when you get in the explanation, it becomes quite complicated. Let's talk about the first night when the airmen went out. They see lights, they see various lights. They probably saw the Orford Lighthouse, but they saw something else.
Yeah, because lighthouses
aren't red. They saw something with a blue bank of lights, with a bright light on top of it and some other things. And what is not widely publicized is that somebody called the British police. And there was a British police car driving around out there on the farm roads, and very likely they were seeing the flashing strobe lights of this police car because it has a bank of blue lights on top of it. But once they got out there with the police car and the Orford Lighthouse, that's probably what they saw. They never got close to it in their reports, and they were ordered to come back to base. The second night, they go out, and they don't see anything initially. And then, of course, somebody says they see a light. And then they call Halt, who was at a party, and Halt decides to organize a team and go out. And then all of a sudden, they see this flashing light, which is the Orford Lighthouse. And then, at some point, Halt looks up at the sky, and about 10 degrees off the horizon in the north and the south, he sees 3 bright objects.
Oh.
And they're just stationary objects. And then he says they look like they're shooting off beams or dancing and so forth. And all they are is stars.
It's the biggest insult in the world. We're highly trained, some even more trained than others, but we
all they are is stars.
all knew. Here we were.
Yeah.
They don't put idiots out here.
Colonel Halt,
yeah,
when this
exactly.
happened,
You don't just look up in the sky and assume that something... You don't mistake them for stars. You know what a star looks like, you know?
Again, a respected military personage, retired 12 years later as a full colonel. This hurt his career, and that's not conjecture or guesswork. He told us.
When they retrace their steps, lo and behold, they end up where Halt says nothing ever happened. Seems everything happened there.
Ah.
Interesting.
These men's lives were changed forever. I'm sure some of them, most of them, would have rather just done what the service wanted them to do, which is just forget about it.
Well, actually, a guy to my side said, what would happen if we talked about it? The people are all ready to. They say like this. The guy said, with a smile, bullets are cheap.
Jesus. Basically, if you talk, it'd be the last time you bloody talk, mate.
Walk me through the period that begins with your debriefing and the threats that were made against you.
Well, we came off duty. I went immediately back to my room, my dorm room. So the next thing I know is that I get a note under my door, and they said I had to go out to the Chief of Security Police's office.
And that afternoon they were debriefed. We're convinced it was disinformation, which is not a lie. It is a very skillful mixture of truth and fiction to produce a certain result. I'm convinced in this case to scare the hell out of the men involved.
Well, actually, a guy to my side said, what would happen if we talked about it? The people are all ready to. They say it like this. The guy said with a smile, bullets are cheap.
You know, there's this idea that somehow people can be threatened and all kinds of stuff. In all my career in the Air Force, I never saw anybody threatened.
Were you taken to an underground base and debriefed?
I think that was narco-hypnosis. I was taken to something subterranean.
Mate, hang on a second. This is getting pretty deep. You've got one side that are totally just saying, look, it was nothing, it was a lighthouse, it was stars, and you got the other hand, the other people saying, this happened, mate, right? I know what I saw. I know when I look up in the sky what a star looks like and what a UFO looks like. And I saw it straight in front of me, and I sensed something, and I saw 3 people.
I do believe they exist on the base.
I think for me that's very important. He was missing for, my understanding, is between 24, 36 hours. Men who asked where he was were told he was on a leave. Halt has always said that Larry was meddled with. Yes, he was. So were all of the men.
I have actually got another short video of this guy called Holt and his interpretation of exactly what happened, mate. And again, I've seen parts of it. Seems really interesting.
Is there an underground complex there? I'm convinced there is.
We signed pre-written statements saying we were off duty, and we had a sign. I said, that's not true. And we saw some lights, we were off duty. But we had no sign, you know, that's what we had to do.
Larry continued to inquire quietly on his own. I think was identified as a potential problem. So much so that at a certain point he realized it was probably prudent to leave the service.
We had the highest rate of suicide in NATO on that base.
After.
What?
It was a captain who hung himself. It was, you know, you don't hear any of these officers talk about it because they're riding the pension wave, you know. The worst element was the government you were serving wasn't what you were serving, and there was a dark element there. Your world is not the world you live in. You know it every day. The guy working next to you probably doesn't. And you sit there and you go, oh, I know things you definitely don't know.
Larry outed everyone. And that broke the story ultimately in England. He went on to become the whistleblower.
See, I feel sorry for the individuals, right? If this is true, I feel sorry for the individuals that have that decide to whistleblow and decide to talk about it, right? And it's horrible how their own story is manipulated, right? It must be very frustrating. But on the flip side, I do understand why a military would try to cover something like that up. Because if that got out, a whole whirlwind of catastrophic things could happen. You know, when you're talking about technology or potential alien technology and all this sort of stuff, the implications could be massive. So I sort of understand. I sort of understand.
And I think back then they said, well, you know, people say certain things in 1981 society. You know, you'd be laughed, you know, you're a village idiot. It's not that way anymore. You know, people are very open-minded. People are more open to say, well, whereas they would have said, oh, crazy. Nowadays they go, well, maybe I can tell you about something I saw.
And then the other witnesses started to come forward years later, and it's now history.
James Peniston claimed that he went up to this craft. It had landed. He walked around it. He touched it. What do you make of his account?
But I'm highly skeptical of that. He now claims he touched it, and recently claimed he's getting some kind of binary download to his brain.
I was like blinded mentally blinded, where I couldn't see, and all I could see is like ones and zeros flashing in my head, to the point where I couldn't see what was in front of me. As it dissipated, takes off up to treetop level. When the craft lifted off, there was no noise. There was no air displacement, which was strange. It momentarily stops, turns, and is gone in a blink of an eye. Since then, you know, I gave that question to people you know, that are in the know. They said, well, a blink of an eye would equate to 5,000 miles an hour. So that's pretty fast.
At what point?
Jesus. Like, why would he do this to himself? Like, speak out like that? Like, you know?
Jim, did you start writing the ones and zeros, the binary code that you received in a flash?
The following day, the 27th, when I woke up early. I woke up at like 4 in the morning. And I mean, I'm beside myself over what happened the day before, wondering just how real everything was.
If you look at his original report, all he says is he saw lights. The lights never got close to him. He says the lights moved away from him. He never touched anything. What he said in his official signed report is not what he's saying now. And you have to wonder, what does that mean?
To go ahead and report that to anybody or back in the base would just be ludicrous. That I would have got relieved of duty. So I never said nothing. And I got these ones and zeros going. I really thought I was sort of losing it, you know. So I started writing them down in the notebook. And when
what does this encrypt? What is this gonna be, huh?
I did that, it felt better. I thought it was all going to be just gibberish. I really did. Then I get the information back, and it finds out it's actually has meaning. And there's words and
what's the words?
Message.
And the gist of that message was what?
The general meaning of the message was that it was a probe, and it was here for exploration of humanity, and it was time-related with the fourth coordinate, meaning that's a time-related code. And so the message indicated that this was from time travelers.
Now look, I know I can predict the comments right now because I've seen it before. I've seen the comments. So aliens use binary code, or why would aliens use binary code? Good question. Good question. I'm not mocking you, right? But assuming that aliens are super intelligent, why wouldn't they try to communicate to us in a language that we would know? Why wouldn't they? Right? If you were super intelligent, right, and trying to communicate, it's like when you teach a dog to sit down. Sit down. Sit. And you push his bum down. Sit. 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 You know? You do very basic. You do actions, don't you? To try to, you know? So that's what I think an alien would do. They'd be like, okay, what sort of language do they understand? Sign language, vocal. Well, let's do binary because that's a generic, everybody understands binary. So we'll use that. That's my theory.
The question here is what really happened, not what they think happened. And what they're saying now certainly does
Says somebody that was never there.
not match their reports at the time.
But they could have been almost some sort of hallucinogenic. You don't know. Like, he might be right, this guy. It might be like, we need to find the facts.
How do you feel about this whole incident 3 decades later? Are you still passionate about what happened?
We have questions, that most likely are never going to get answered. A lot of the information is sitting in the archives with the United States. I mean, that's going to remain classified, I'm sure.
Talk to me about what this has cost you coming forward.
What does it cost? A couple marriages, a couple career directions could have been good, probably. Oh, a million things, I mean, your worldview.
Wait, two divorces. That's bad enough, mate. I feel so sorry for this guy.
Is never going to be the same.
The other witnesses and I have talked, and we think that we're just going to have to live with it. I don't think we're ever going to have the full answers on Rendlesham. I think it's going to be not in our lifetime, anyway.
It's part of you wish it never happened.
I was asked a long time ago a very good question. They said, if you could change one thing about the Rendlesham Forest incident, what would it be? What one thing would it be? And I said, well, that's easy. I says, on the 24th of December, when they asked me if I wanted to work the Christmas schedule or the New Year's schedule, I would have said, I want to work the New Year's schedule. That's the only thing I would have. That was a 6-second, maybe 7-second decision that changed my whole life.
It should be noted
Wow.
that neither Jim Penniston or Larry Warren, the two witnesses I talked to, have ever referred to what they saw as a UFO or alien spacecraft. Larry Warren is an incredibly sincere and likable individual. He's paid dearly for talking openly about what he saw over 30 years ago.
Yeah.
2 broken marriages, ridiculed and scorned by his peers and the media. Why would he keep putting himself out there?
Yeah.
He certainly hasn't profited from all this. I believe something happened to him, something nefarious. I believe whatever he saw resulted in his being interrogated, perhaps drugged, maybe even brainwashed. I spend far less time with Jim Penniston, but he too strikes me as a likable, honest person. But as of this moment, I can't honestly sit here and tell you that I believe he received a binary code message from time travelers.
Yeah, that does... I gotta be honest with you, that is quite hard to believe. I'm not ruling it out, but it's quite... If you wanted to try to convince somebody that what you saw, right, you might have a tendency to exacerbate on what you're trying to what message you're trying to spread, right? So he could have just got binary code for a particular sentence and wrote it down and said, yeah, this is what I'm seeing in my mind, you know? Could be, right? It could be all BS. But I suppose the same question is, if he went to that extent to bullshit about something like that and learn binary or get a binary message, surely there's a reason why he wants to like shout it out as much as possible, to make up some rubbish stuff to say, look, I'm actually telling the truth, even if it does mean bending the truth slightly, just to get his message out there.
Yes, he seems to be a personable person, but you can never get inside somebody's head.
I believe he believes he encountered something strange in the woods back in 1980. But perhaps his mind was tampered with too.
The way the human brain works is quite complicated, and confabulation can be all over the place. People can be outright lying in confabulation, or they can be telling what they really think is the truth, but has nothing to do with reality. The question here is what really happened, not what they think happened. And what they're saying now certainly does not match their reports at the time.
I wonder, since the whistleblowing and basically all the governments now owning up and saying, yeah, you know, there's UFOs out there, there's UAPs out there. So you might be just like, yeah, I do believe them, actually. 10 years ago, I had to say what I had to say, you know? I had to say what I said.
I'm not ready to call Rendlesham Britain's Roswell just yet. But something strange happened in the woods back in December of 1980. Something that affected a number of U.S. Air Force men in a profound and negative way. And that is worthy of further investigation, UFOs or not. And now, I'd like to know what you think. You can contact us here at The Conspiracy Show.
Well done. That was really, really, really good. I want to quickly show you, though. Colonel Charles Holt returns to Rendlesham in May 2017 to basically talk about what he saw. Look, check this out.
Down this trail, which was significantly improved now, it was a ruddy, muddy dirt trail. We turned here in the Jeep, and we went up there about 150 or 200 yards, and there were 2 or 3 pickup trucks, 6-passenger 4-wheel drive pickup trucks with light-alls, and 10 or 15 cops there. We stopped there. That's when we looked into the forest, and they said, there's where the landing site was the first night. And we went in there. Now, you can't do that now because the forest is too thick, but in those days it were tall Corsica pines with a tall canopy, and you could walk underneath very easily and see very clearly. In fact, from here you could see back to the east gate. Through here, and we stopped somewhere back there at the site, and that's when we saw the object out here, and it came into the forest. It went through the trees, bobbing up and down, traveling primarily in a horizontal plane, but it would go up and down a bit. And we tried to get close. We came up toward the fence, the barbed wire fence up there, and it went back out into the field, and then it exploded silently into objects, white objects, and disappeared. So we went out into the field looking for any residue, because it was dripping something that looked like molten metal or sparks were coming off it. We found no evidence. That's when we saw the objects in the sky to the north, and then later the ones to the south that sent down a beam.
Wow.
Yeah, we were down there about 100 yards looking at the farmer's house is over there. If you look at the bottom of the house, there's a big hedgerow, was not there. There's a row of windows top and a row of windows bottom. When the object went out into the field, we could see it reflecting off the windows, top and bottom.
Ooh.
In fact, so brightly, I was concerned about the people in the farmhouse. I mean, it looked like it was on fire.
Wow.
We watched it till it exploded. Then we went out into the field, and we went across the field, past the farmer's house, and across there's a road in front of his house, a small road, and some brush. And we wandered through a small stream, and everybody got wet, which discouraged us from staying out too much longer because it was cold and damp and windy. And went out in the field on the other side, and that's when we saw the objects in the sky to the south, and the object sent down to beam on us.
Well, there you go, mate. The UK, I'm going to call it the UK Roswell Incident, right? What do you reckon about that? Do you think that these guys were telling the truth? Or do you think they were just like hallucinating or making up some sort of elaborate story? I don't know. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked that episode of day 3 of Alien and UFO week. Look out tomorrow, mate, because I have got some epic footage for you about UFOs, mate. It's going to be unreal. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.